Warnia could not understand what was happening. Why was she suddenly facing such a huge problem, even though Master Leonard had already changed her fortune for her? Just then, the other party replied over the phone, "There is nothing we can do now, Miss Song. The other party is demanding for us to pay compensation to them immediately. They refuse to accept any of the goods at all." Warnia hurriedly asked, "Are you sure you are not making a mistake? Can you ask them to verify this issue again?" The other party quickly replied, "I have already asked them to verify the situation. However, even after checking the products twice, they insist that the products were not up to their expectations whatsoever." Warnia blurted out immediately, "I want you to check our export records immediately and find out who produced this batch of goods. I want you to find the person responsible for this matter so that they can explain everything to me as soon as possible." After that, she instructed the woman, "As for the company in the United States, I want you to drag it out as long as you can. Make sure that you send a few people over there to check out the situation." "Understood, Miss Song." Warnia had a very confused expression on her face after hanging up the phone. She turned around and looked at Master Leonard before saying, "Master Leonard, it seems as though I have encountered another very unfortunate incident. If I fail to resolve this issue, my losses will exceed $500 million. Didn't you say that you have already reversed my fortune for me?" Master Leonard dodged Warnia's eyes before replying vaguely, "You also need time to get rid of your bad luck and adversity. This cannot be done overnight." Not feeling very convinced, Warnia asked yet again, "Even if it would take time for my fortune to improve, how could I receive such bad news as soon as you said that you have changed my fortune for me?" Right then, Warnia suddenly received a phone call from Mr. Lambeth, her business partner from Hong Kong. Warnia quickly answered the phone. "Hello, Mr. Lambeth." "Miss Song." The other party spoke in a cold voice. "We have thought about it and have decided to cease all collaborations and partnership with the Song family. We want to unilaterally terminate and dissolve our partnership." "Terminate our partnership?" Warnia blurted out anxiously. "Mr. Lambeth, you can certainly see that we are superior in every aspect compared to the other party. It would be most beneficial to you if you choose to continue working with the Song family." The other party chuckled over the other end of the line before he replied, "To be honest, my father hired a feng shui master to read his fortune for him, and the master told him that the fortune of the Song family was not compatible with the Lambeth family at all. If we continued our partnership with you, this would undoubtedly affect the fortune of the Lambeth family. Therefore, we have no choice but to terminate our partnership with you. Sorry, Miss Song." The other party hung up the phone as soon as he was done speaking. Initially, Warnia had been planning to use this opportunity to take the Song family to the next level. Who would have expected that she would only be met with disappointment? Master Leonard was already beginning to panic at this time. He had originally intended to lie to Warnia and make some money out of her, leaving as soon as possible. Unexpectedly, just a few minutes after he had conducted his sham ritual, Warnia was plagued with even more misfortune and bad luck. He knew then and there that he should not continue to remain here. He had to leave as soon as possible. And so Master Leonard hurriedly said, "Miss Song, you should understand that it takes time for a person to change their fortune. Therefore, you should not panic, but stay calm. I assure you that everything will definitely be better tomorrow. If there is nothing else that I can help you with, I will leave first." Master Leonard walked toward the door as soon as he was done speaking. However, Warnia suddenly stopped him. "Wait a minute. Master Leonard, I think that there is obviously a problem with the current situation. Why am I encountering two huge problems as soon as you finished performing the ritual to reverse my fortune for me? I want you to give me a proper explanation for this." After she spoke, Warnia suddenly felt a sharp pain in her lower abdomen. She almost screamed out loud in pain and could not even stand up straight. She was only able to stand at all because she happened to be leaning against the television on the wall. She could not understand what was happening. Why was she? Before she could even figure out what was going on, Warnia felt the sharp pain in her lower abdomen again. The pain was so intense that she could feel her legs going soft immediately, and so she continued to hold on to the television to keep her balance and continue standing up. Suddenly there was a loud sound, and the metal bracket of the television that was attached to the wall broke. When Charlie saw the 60-inch television falling toward Warnia's feet, he quickly took a step forward and grabbed her hand before pulling her into his arms. The television set fell and hit the ground with a crash. The television casing and screen smashed to the ground, a piece of shattered plastic flying out and slashing Warnia's slender and fair leg. "Ah!" Warnia yelled out in pain as soon as she felt the sharp pain in her calf. When she lowered her head, she realized that there was a 2 to 3 centimeter long cut in her calf, and blood started gushing out of the wound in a flash. Charlie hurriedly took out a piece of tissue from his pocket before kneeling down beside Warnia and pressing the piece of tissue against her calf. After that, he asked, "Warnia, do you have any first aid kit at home? We need to disinfect your wound immediately." Warnia was a little irate when Charlie touched her leg and she wanted to yell at him. However, when she recalled that Charlie was the one who rescued her, she suppressed her anger and tried to calm herself down. After that, she glared angrily at Master Leonard before saying, "Master Leonard, you are not going anywhere unless you give me a reasonable explanation today." As soon as he heard Warnia's words, Orville grabbed Master Leonard by his neck before he asked, "Speak up! Tell me, what have you done to Miss Song?" Master Leonard replied, the fear evident in his eyes. I did not do anything to her. I was just performing a ritual to help her reverse her bad fortune." "Stop lying to me," Orville responded angrily. "Did you change Miss Song's fortune for the worse instead?" Orville grit his teeth as he cursed. "Tell me, did someone pay you so that you could come and deliberately cause harm to Miss Song?" Master Leonard trembled in shock as soon as he heard Orville's words. "Big brother, I did not receive money from anyone. I have no intention to harm Miss Song at all." Orville continued to pressure him. "If you refuse to tell me the truth, I will chop you up into pieces and feed you to the stray dogs." Orville then looked at Warnia before he said, "Miss Song, leave this matter to me. I will deal with this bastard on your behalf." Warnia was also extremely annoyed and frustrated at this time. She glared at Master Leonard with a cold expression on her face as she said, "Master Leonard, if you refuse to give me an explanation right now, I will leave Orville to deal with you." Master Leonard hurriedly knelt in front of Warnia before he cried out, "Miss Song, I am sorry. I did not intend to hurt you at all. I was just trying to cheat some money out of you." Warnia continued asking, "So, you were just putting on a show when you were performing the ritual earlier because you wanted to fool me?" "Yes," Master Leonard replied tremblingly as he took out the cash check from his pocket and begged for mercy. "I will return the money to you. Please let me go." Warnia looked at him for a moment, and she could tell that he was not lying to her. However, this only made her feel even more desperate. What was happening? Was her fortune truly worsening? She had suddenly suffered such heavy losses, and if this continued, her family business would be destroyed in her hands. All this while, Charlie, who had been silent, suddenly said, "As a matter of fact, Warnia, it is not entirely true that Master Leonard did not do anything at all." Warnia looked at Charlie curiously before she asked, "What do you mean?" Charlie replied calmly, "The layout of your room combined with your 5 elements form a very terrifying and unfortunate feng shui alignment known as the Dragon Encapsulation Formation. The Dragon Encapsulation Formation will lock and trap all of your good fortunes. However, the formation was not completed because there was a small loophole in your room. That green potted plant that you had by the window left you a way out in this Dragon Encapsulation Formation." After that, Charlie glanced at Master Leonard before he smiled and said, "Unfortunately, Master Leonard decided to remove your green potted plant and replace it with a stone instead. Since a stone symbolizes gold, the Dragon Encapsulation Formation was finally completed, and that's the reason why you are facing even worse misfortune and bad luck. Even if you remove the stone now, you will still be faced with more bad luck." Warnia was utterly shocked, and she hurriedly put aside all the contempt that she felt for Charlie before pleading for his help. "Mr. Wade, please help me." Master Leonard only realized the huge catastrophe he had caused after hearing Charlie's explanation. Therefore, he hurriedly said, "Miss Song, I am so sorry. That was not my intention. Master, please take that stone away immediately." Charlie shook his head before he replied, "It is already useless to take that stone away now. After all, The dragon encapsulation formation is already completed, and it is equivalent to throwing a stone into water. Even if you took the stone out from the water, the waves generated by the stone cannot be undone anymore. Warnia looked at Charlie with a dumbfounded expression on her face. She suddenly felt a little more respect for him, and she quickly asked, "Mr. Wade, can you help me to resolve this problem caused by the dragon encapsulation formation? I will not hesitate to pay you no matter how much money I have to spend to resolve this issue." As soon as Orville heard Charlie's words, he quickly said, "Mr. Wade, you have to help our young lady." Charlie nodded before he said, "Miss Song, the feng shui in your room was originally not a dragon encapsulation formation. However, this is your birth year, and your fate will change this year. Therefore, it is incompatible with the feng shui formation of this room. That is how the dragon encapsulation formulation started to develop." Charlie then continued to say, "I am going to change the feng shui of your room, but I'm afraid that this will cause some damage to your bedroom. I hope that you will not mind that." At this time, Warnia replied immediately, "Mr. Wade, I will have no opinions or objections at all, even if you want to demolish my entire house." Charlie nodded before he instructed the butler, "Uncle Oscar, could you please find me a crowbar?" Oscar nodded immediately before saying, "I will go and get it now." Shortly after, Oscar came back with a metal crowbar in his hand. "Mr. Wade, will this be okay?" "Yes." Charlie looked around the room carefully and started calculating with his fingers before walking a few steps around the room. After that, he pointed at a piece of plywood under his feet before saying, "Orville, can you pry this wooden floor open for me?" Orville nodded, but he did not get to work immediately. Instead, he looked at Master Leonard before punching him hard in his abdomen. As Orville was a mobster boss, he had a lot of practical experience. Therefore, Master Leonard could not even sit up, let alone escape, after Orville had punched him in the stomach. After punching Master Leonard, Orville took the crowbar from Oscar before prying the wooden floor open according to Charlie's instructions. The wooden floor was eventually pried open, and the concrete floor below it was exposed. Orville quickly asked Charlie, "Mr. Wade, what should I do next?" Charlie replied casually, "There must be a central axis for the dragon encapsulation formation, so I am deducing that the central axis for this feng shui formation is right below this concrete floor. The central axis of the dragon encapsulation formation is driven by water. When water flows through this central axis, that is when all the good fortune will be trapped. Therefore, if I am not mistaken, there should be a water pipeline directly below the cement." "Really?" Orville asked in surprise. "Mr. Wade, can you see through the concrete floor?" Charlie replied indifferently, "I cannot see it with my naked eyes, but I can deduce it through the 5 elements of feng shui. For instance, when you see lights on the roof, you would be able to guess that there must be an electrical line embedded in the roof." Whatever Charlie had mentioned was all written and recorded in the 9 Heavens Profound book. Most people did not know anything about feng shui formation, thus they would not be able to decide where the elements of water or fire were. At this time, Charlie said again, "I think that the cement floor above the water pipe should be very thin. You should be able to see the water pipes if you hit the cement floor hard with the crowbar a few times." "Okay," Orville replied, before hitting the concrete ground hard with the metal crowbar. After a few strokes, Orville successfully cracked the cement floor. Everyone held their breaths as they watched Orville break through the concrete floor. Sure enough, as soon as Orville broke the cement floor, they saw a PVC water pipe as thick as a thumb below the cement floor. This kind of PVC water pipe began from the main water source all the way to all the bathrooms in the villa. However, there was only one of this main pipe in this huge villa, and this particular water pipe couldn't be located easily in the house. Nevertheless, everyone was shocked because Charlie had been able to directly point out the specific location of the water pipe. "He really is a god!" At this time, Orville was not the only one who was stunned, but Warnia and Oscar were also dumbfounded. It was really amazing that Charlie was able to find the water pipe that was hidden inside the cement floor. Charlie spoke up again. "Orville, break the water pipe open and let the water spill out immediately. As soon as the water gushes out of the pipe, the dragon encapsulation formation will break down immediately, and this feng shui formation will no longer exist." Warnia hurriedly urged, "Orville, hurry up and break the water pipe open." Orville nodded before he started hitting the water pipe with the metal crowbar until it finally broke. A large pool of water spewed out in an instant. Charlie, Warnia, and Oscar backed away immediately to avoid the water from getting all over them. Unfortunately, Orville did not manage to escape in time, and the water splashed all over him. After the water gushed out, Charlie realized that he had already broken the dragon encapsulation formation because of the fatal damage they had done to the water pipe. Charlie quickly told Oscar, "Turn off the main water valve. The dragon encapsulation formation has already been broken." "It has already been broken?" everyone asked with a curious expression on their faces. Charlie replied calmly, "Yes, I have already broken the terrifying feng shui formation. Therefore, I think that Warnia's fortune has already been turned around, and she will enjoy many good fortunes soon." As soon as he was done speaking, Warnia received a phone call. "Miss Song, someone from the company in the United States called to inform us that they had made a mistake and there is nothing wrong with our products whatsoever. All of the products that we ship to the United States have passed the inspection process." "That is great news!" Warnia was utterly amazed. It seemed as though her fortune had indeed changed as soon as Charlie broke the dragon encapsulation formation for her. After hanging up the phone, Warnia quickly thanked Charlie with a grateful expression on her face. "Mr. Wade, you truly are a god. Thank you so much for what you have done for me." Charlie smiled before he replied, "Miss Song, you are welcome. The only reason I came here today was because Orville asked me to come and help you out. I am only doing what I can." Orville was very touched and almost burst into tears when he heard Charlie's words. He truly did not expect Charlie to remember to speak up for him at a time like this. This way, he would certainly be able to get into Warnia good books. He had always wanted to get into Warnia good books, but the young lady of the Song family would never allow someone like him to get closer to her. Therefore, he had been helping the Song family out whenever he could because he wanted to get her attention and win her favor. Since Charlie had given him this credit, Warnia would undoubtedly give Orville more attention and opportunities in the future. Warnia then looked at Orville before saying, "Thank you for looking out for me. I will definitely remember what you have done for me." Orville hurriedly replied, "Miss Song, I am merely doing what I should do." Warnia nodded slightly. She was the young lady of the Song family in front of Orville, but she was still very respectful and polite toward Charlie. After a brief moment, Warnia's cell phone started ringing again. It was Mr. Lambeth from Hong Kong. "Mr. Lambeth? Why are you calling me again?" Warnia was somewhat dissatisfied because Mr. Lambeth had just called to terminate their partnership with the Song family not too long ago. At this time, Mr. Lambeth quickly spoke on the other end of the line. "Miss Song, I am so sorry. There seems to have been a misunderstanding before this. My father's feng shui master told him that your fortune had changed suddenly, and your good luck and wealth will be soaring overwhelmingly. Therefore, I would strongly suggest that we continue the business partnership between the Lambeth and the Song family. I sincerely hope that we will be able to sign a partnership contract as soon as possible. I will fly into Orris Hill tomorrow if it is fine with you. Will I be able to meet you then?" Warnia was so surprised that her jaw almost fell to the ground due to Mr. Lambeth's drastic change in attitude. Even though she was still furious because of what Mr. Lambeth had done before this, she still wanted to shout out excitedly right now. However, she remained calm and maintained her composure as she said, "All right then, if that is the case, let's make an appointment at a time and place to sign the partnership agreement." Mr. Lambeth quickly replied, "All right, the sooner the better. I will fly into Orris Hill tomorrow to meet up with you in person, Miss Song." Warnia stared at Charlie in awe as soon as she had hung up the phone. She could already see Charlie's skills and power through Mr. Lambeth's phone call. Previously, when Master Leonard had destroyed her fortune by completing the dragon encapsulation formation, Mr. Lambeth had called to tell her that he wanted to terminate the business partnership between their families. At that time, Mr. Lambeth's father's feng shui master had also told Warnia that he could tell that her fortune was not good at all. However, as soon as Charlie broke the feng shui formation, Mr. Lambeth had called back immediately to tell her that his father's feng shui master had said that her fortune had changed drastically and she was going to have very good fortune and wealth from now on. This was proof that Charlie was not just a swindler. While Warnia was still amazed at what Charlie had done, she suddenly received a phone call from an unknown number. Upon answering the call, the other party asked over the other end of the line, "Hello, is this Miss Song?" "Yes, who is this?" The other party quickly replied, "Miss Song, I am the manager of the Hermes boutique in town. Do you remember coming to our boutique to try on some clothes and accessories last week?" Warnia replied, "Yes, I remember. What's wrong?" The other party quickly explained, "Miss Song, I am calling to inform you that we found a diamond necklace in the corner of the fitting room, and your name is engraved on the necklace. I think you must have dropped it when you visited our boutique last week." Warnia was trembling in excitement as soon as she heard the other party's words. She quickly asked, "So, where is the necklace now? Do you have it with you?" "Yes, it is at our boutique. I will come over to pick it up right now." Upon hanging up the phone, Warnia burst into tears immediately. Then she looked at Charlie with a grateful expression on her face as she said, "Mr. Wade, I have finally found the diamond necklace that my mother gave me. Thank you so much." Charlie simply smiled before replying, "You should go and get your necklace now. If you are in a hurry, please leave now." Warnia nodded before she took out her checkbook and hurriedly wrote a cash check for $20 million, handing it over to Charlie as she said, "Mr. Wade, please accept this as a token of my gratitude. I am genuinely grateful for everything that you have done for me today." Charlie smiled as he waved his hands. $20 million? He really did not need that money at all. He had more than tens of billions of dollars to his name, so why would he need $20 million from her? Charlie simply replied, "Warnia, we are friends. There is no need for you to pay me for my help." However, Warnia kept insisting, "Mr. Wade, please accept this $20 million as a token. Otherwise, I will feel bad." Charlie replied, "Warnia, who knows if we might need each other's help in the future? So I think there is absolutely no need for us to be so calculative with one another." As soon as Warnia heard Charlie's words, she suddenly realized her mistake, and she quickly put away the check before apologizing. "I am sorry, Mr. Wade. I am so stupid. Please do not hesitate to call me if you need my help in the future." Charlie smiled as he said, "Okay, hurry up and get your diamond necklace back as soon as possible." Warnia nodded. She really could not wait to get her diamond necklace back. Thus, after she had thanked Charlie, she asked Oscar to drive her out in a hurry. After Warnia and Oscar had left the Song family villa, Orville looked at Charlie gratefully. Orville grabbed hold of Charlie's hand before saying, "Mr. Wade, you are truly a very incredible person. If you ever need my help in the future, do not hesitate to call me. I would be willing to climb a mountain or walk over a fire just for you." Charlie smiled before he said, "Remember what you have said today? I might need you to do something for me in the future." Orville nodded before he replied, "Mr. Wade, don't worry. You can give me orders to do anything for you." At this time, Master Leonard, who had been lying on the ground as he held onto his stomach, suddenly began crying and begging for mercy. "Big brother, please let me go. I will not dare to do this anymore in the future. Please, forgive me and let me go." Orville sneered before he said, "You are a liar. I must teach you a lesson. My subordinates are coming to get you now." Charlie asked in a low voice, "How are you going to deal with him?" Orville replied coldly, "I've already said that I will chop him up into pieces before feeding him to the dogs. How could I not keep to my word? I have a friend who owns a dog shelter. He has so many dogs there they could probably finish eating 10 scumbags like him." As soon as Master Leonard heard Orville's words, he was so frightened that he started trembling in fear. Then he cried as he continued begging for mercy. "Big brother, I have a family that I have to look after. Please just let me off this time. I will certainly remember your kindness." Charlie glanced at him but did not feel any sympathy for him at all. After all, he was nothing but a deceitful liar who would only cause more harm to this world. If he continued messing around in the feng shui industry, he could cost some innocent people their lives. To put it bluntly, he was just a deceitful liar who deserved to die. Moreover, Master Leonard had completed the dragon encapsulation formation today simply because he wanted to scam Warnia of her money. If Charlie had not been there today, Warnia would undoubtedly have lost her life. Furthermore, the Song family owned a very big business, and if such a huge enterprise were to collapse, Charlie could not imagine the number of people who would be affected by this. If so, Warnia would not be the only one affected because of what Master Leonard had done. Hence, Charlie felt that there was no need for a scumbag like this to remain in this world. Before long, some of Orville's subordinates showed up and dragged Master Leonard away. Master Leonard continued crying and howling, complaining about how miserable and pitiful he was. He even said that he regretted his actions, but no one sympathized with him at all. Charlie simply stared at him before he shook his head. He had already told him that a bloody disaster would befall him today. Unfortunately, Master Leonard refused to believe him, and so he could only accept the consequences of his actions now. After solving all the problems, Albert quickly thanked Charlie for everything that he had done before he drove Charlie home. Upon returning home, Charlie realized that Claire was still looking for a job. Charlie did not say much because even though he really wanted to start up a new company for Claire, she did not seem interested in the idea at all. Therefore, he did not want to say too much. Besides, he did not want Claire to tire herself out. If he started a company for her, she would have to deal with a lot of work at the early stage of the business. With Claire's character and persistence, Charlie knew that she would definitely push herself, and she would only be suffering in the end. Later that evening, Charlie received a phone call from his good friend, Stephen. Ever since Charlie had helped Stephen teach the adulterous pair a lesson at the hospital, Charlie had not seen Stephen again. The main reason was simply that there were too many things that had happened at home recently, and he really did not have any time to visit him at all. Stephen informed Charlie over the phone that he had recovered and could finally be discharged from the hospital today. Since Charlie had helped him to reclaim his restaurant and get a compensation that was worth a few $1,000,000, the first thing Stephen wanted to do after getting discharged from the hospital was to treat some of his close friends to dinner. Charlie agreed immediately because he was glad that his good friend was finally going to be discharged from the hospital. Just then, Claire walked out of the bathroom after taking a shower and asked Charlie casually, "Who is calling you so late at night?" Charlie replied, "Stephen has just been discharged from the hospital. He wants to treat us to dinner. Let's go together tomorrow." Claire nodded and replied, "Okay." At noon the next day, Charlie and Claire went to the Maple Hotel by car. The Maple Hotel was not the most expensive in Orris Hill, but it was among the most exclusive and luxurious in town, indicating Stephen's sincerity in treating them. In fact, he spent quite lavishly on this meal as he had booked the premium dining suite in the hotel. It was luxuriously decorated and was spacious enough to accommodate 20 people with the minimum spending of $7,000 to $8,000. Many people had already arrived in the suite when Charlie and Claire arrived. Besides Stephen and Elsa, there were also a few college mates. Elsa hadn't had a good time lately. She had come to Orris Hill from Eastcliff for some time now for the main purpose of getting to know the chairman of Emgrand Group. However, she had never had a chance to even see the man himself after working for so long in the company. Moreover, although she had gotten to stay in the office when she was the administrative director, after she was transferred to the sales department, she had spent less and less time in the office, which critically reduced her chances of meeting the chairman. However, she had stumbled into another dilemma now. She had been obsessed with the mysterious man ever since she was rescued by him the other day. If truth be told, she even felt as though she had fallen in love with him at first sight. Hence, her desire to meet the chairman was not as great as before, and on the contrary, she was more eager to meet her savior. Yet she would never have guessed that the chairman of Emgrand Group and her mysterious savior was actually the same guy, Charlie. As Charlie and Claire walked into the suite, Stephen rose to his feet quickly and greeted them. "Hey, buddy! Claire! Welcome! Come, have a seat!" Stephen greeted the couple very respectfully. His heart brimmed with admiration and appreciation toward this good buddy of his. Elsa looked a little haggard and depressed as she held a lot of secrets inside her. When she saw Claire suddenly, she had the urge to spill the beans. She barged forward, and holding onto Claire's wrists, she said weakly, "Claire, come sit with me. I want to tell you something." Claire replied with a warm smile. "What is it? What happened to you? Why do you look so listless?" Elsa sighed. "It's all because of my mysterious savior. You know what? I think I've fallen in love with him. I see him everywhere. Whenever I close my eyes, I see him. He is even in my dreams, but I can't find him. What should I do? I don't know how either. Claire shrugged helplessly. Ever since Elsa had been rescued by that mysterious guy, she had wanted to find him and marry him. But where and how could you find a guy amongst the crowd of people? That was like finding a needle in a haystack. Cold sweat drenched Charlie's forehead as he listened to the ladies' conversation. Had Elsa truly fallen in love with him? That was preposterous. He could never ever let Elsa know that he was her savior, otherwise all hell would break loose. After a few drinks and a hefty meal, Stephen stood up, beginning to liven up the atmosphere. Guys, thank you all for coming today. I would like to make a toast to you all. Cheers! Then he drank bottoms up. A few of them who were quite close to him also yelled, Cheers! Charlie smiled lightly and took a sip from his wine glass. Stephen, I heard that you are a big boss now, with the fancy new restaurant of yours and $2 million in cash in your hands. In fact, you know someone from the underworld, don't you? You must look after us in the future. A coquettish woman dressed in enchanting clothes with heavy makeup on her face smiled charmingly. Joanne, do you ever listen to yourself? Stephen is our best buddy. He will undoubtedly give us a hand if we need help. A man with a square face spoke up. He picked up his glass and downed it in one go. Charlie glanced over at them briefly. He remembered them as his college mates. The woman's name was Joanne Hampton, and the man's name was Jerry McLean. Stephen replied timidly, Oh no, I cannot take credit for all of that. Sigh, it's a long story, just forget about it. He then looked at Charlie, feeling grateful with a tinge of emotion. It had been a stroke of misfortune to have been with a cheater and slut that he had almost lost everything to her, even getting beaten up for that. Luckily, thanks to Charlie's help, he was able to reclaim ownership of the restaurant and receive $2 million in compensation. Thus, everything that he owned now was literally because of Charlie. He couldn't take any credit for that. Hence, he changed the subject and started, Anyway, Jerry, you're pretty well off now, aren't you? I heard that you are one of the top executives in your company. I bet you must be making 6 figures a year. Jerry answered with a sigh. Forget it. The company doesn't treat me fairly. I'm about to resign and send my resume to Spikeworth Corps to try my luck. Remember George? George Harris? I heard that he is a senior manager there, a solid position. Who would have thought that the kid is doing so well now? Oh, George. Stephen managed an awkward smile. He was not on good terms with George, which was why George had not been invited to tonight's dinner. However, Jerry and George were quite close. If Spikeworth accepted him, he would be appointed to a distinguished position with George's recommendation. Elsa spoke after pondering for a while. I heard that Spikeworth is a big company in Orris Hill that has very good reviews. Wow, I didn't know that George is doing so well now either. Claire was a little stunned when she heard the name of Spikeworth Corps being mentioned. After breaking her ties with the Wilson family and being kicked out from the Wilson Group, she had been sending out her resume to a lot of companies over the past few days in hopes of a new job, one of which was Spikeworth Corps. Claire said with a smile, Hey, I also sent my resume to Spikeworth. If we ace the interview, we will work in the same company. Joanne was a little surprised. Claire, you've been working in your family company all these years. Why would you suddenly want to apply for a job at Spikeworth? Claire's smile became a little bitter as she continued. I've cut ties with my family now, so I need to find a new job. Otherwise, I can't support my family. Upon hearing this, Joanne glanced at Charlie, her gaze full of contempt and disgust. Charlie, look at your wife. She has to work so hard for the family. As a man, you are so useless and ignorant to allow your woman to be so desperate and depressed. Jerry was not very close to Charlie, so he laughed unscrupulously. Charlie, why don't you try your luck in George's company, too? Maybe based on your qualifications, you are only qualified as the cleaner, but for the sake of our time spent back in college, he should be able to make you the head of the cleaning crew. Charlie replied flatly, No thanks. You should keep the benefit for yourselves. I'm not interested. Jerry was agitated by Charlie's indifference, and his tone became more sinister as he said, Charlie, I know that you are very egoistic, but just look at yourself now. Everyone is doing better than you. Take my word of advice. Don't set your expectations too high. Get real. Stephen frowned at the bantering and interjected, All right, that's enough. It's our class reunion today. Don't bully Charlie like that. Then he turned to Charlie and said apologetically, Dude, don't take it personally. You know them. They have a quick tongue. Joanne snorted insolently. Stephen, we are so frank because Charlie is always laid back and passive. He has no ability whatsoever, but he's pretty good at pretending. Jerry added disdainfully, "This is what a deadbeat loser looks like." Charlie stared daggers at them, but for Stephen's sake, he couldn't be bothered with these two idiots. Despite Charlie's silence, Joanne and Jerry despised him even more for not defending himself after being ridiculed and insulted. What a loser. Jerry continued his insults. "Hey, in my opinion, Claire was truly blind. So many fine gentlemen in our class, and yet Charlie the loser was her final choice? Huh, such a waste." In the middle of their banter, suddenly the suite's door was pushed open. Bang! Several brawny men in black barged into the room, and one of them, a young man with a crew-cut head and a cigarette in his hand, said coldly, "Get out of here. I want this room." Jerry frowned in annoyance. "What do you think you're doing? Can't you see that we're having our dinner?" Then he slammed the table fiercely and growled, "This is the Maple Hotel. First come, first serve. Don't you know the rules?" "First come, first serve." The fierce-looking young man came over to Jerry and slapped him on his face without any warning. Jerry fell to the floor, his face swollen and bright red. "Who the fuck do you think you are? I am Rambo, Orville Hong's underling. Fuck off!" "Rambo?" Clutching his swollen face, panic and anxiety flooded Jerry's eyes. Rambo was infamously known to own the block around here. Although his rank was considered menial in the whole Oris Hill, he was still feared by commoners like them. "I'm sorry, Rambo. We'll go now. We'll get out of here right away." Rambo sneered triumphantly and shouted at the crowd, "What are you still doing here? Get out, fuckers!" Elsa and Claire were shocked by the sudden altercation, and they hid behind Charlie submissively. Charlie looked at Rambo, his eyes as calm as the lake, but his tone as cold as ice when he spoke. "For Orville's sake, I'll spare your life if you get out of here right now." "Fuck, Charlie, are you fucking crazy? That's Rambo Miller." "We're extremely sorry, Rambo. We don't know this guy. You can do whatever you want with him, but please don't hurt us." Jerry and Joanne cursed Charlie inside out with their gritted teeth and panicked gazes. What the heck did he think he was doing right now? That was Orville Hong's man, Rambo Miller, a murderer who had seen blood. Could he just dig his own grave away from them and leave them all alone? However, despite their panic, Rambo paused as he looked back at Charlie, trying to search that face in his memory. Suddenly his expression changed, and he asked hesitantly, "You are Charlie? Charlie Wade? Mr. Wade?" Rambo had been under Orville for a long time, and so he had heard of Charlie's name before. Thus, the memory struck his mind. Charlie responded coldly, "Is there another Charlie Wade in Oris Hill that I am not aware of?" As if struck by lightning, Rambo widened his eyes in extreme shock and then knelt on the floor immediately. "Mr. Wade, I'm so sorry. I didn't recognize you. Sorry for messing up your dinner. Please accept my apology." Jerry was utterly dumbstruck by the abrupt change of situation that he mumbled. "Rambo, there must be some misunderstanding here. Yes, his name is Charlie Wade, but he's just some deadbeat loser. You don't have to address him so formally." Blood drained from Rambo's face upon hearing such an atrocious remark, and he kicked Jerry to the floor, yelling, "Shut the fuck up! How dare you insult Mr. Wade? I'll kill you today!" Rambo could be regarded as the leader of the underworld in this block, but he knew full well that he was nothing but Orville Hong lapdog. Charlie was someone that even Orville Hong had to flatter and coax. He didn't even qualify to be so close to him. "And you, bitch, how dare you to insult Mr. Wade?" Rambo raised his hand and slapped it across Joanne's face, forcing blood to ooze from the corner of her lips. "That's enough, Rambo. We're having dinner here. Get lost." Charlie couldn't care less about a small character like Rambo, so he waved his hand lazily and asked him to leave. Rambo bowed respectfully and said, "Okay, Mr. Wade, I'll get out of here right now." Then he quickly retreated from the room like a pug. Jerry and Joanne were feeling extremely agitated and annoyed. Charlie, whom they had mocked and ridiculed in every possible way, had turned into Mr. Wade. What the hell was going on? There had to be some sort of misunderstanding here. Charlie was just a deadbeat loser. Why did Rambo address him as Mr. Wade? He wasn't worth it. Stephen turned to them and said sternly, "You two, watch your mouth. Stay low-key and humble. You are wise enough to know what you can or cannot say out loud. Luckily, Charlie was here today. Otherwise, you guys would be in big trouble. Jerry and Joanne stayed as quiet as mice after being beaten by Rambo. Stephen then turned to Charlie and said gratefully, "Charlie, thank you so much. I would like to make a toast to you on behalf of everyone. Thank you." Charlie smiled. "It's my pleasure." The next day, Claire received an interview invitation from Spikeworth Corps. The interview was scheduled in the afternoon. Charlie discreetly called Zeke when Claire was not looking. After the call was answered, Zeke's respectful voice resonated. "Hello, Master Wade. How can I assist you?" Charlie said flatly, "My wife is going to the Spikeworth Corps for an interview. I want to know about the company and its background." Zeke replied in surprise, "Spikeworth? That company is wholly owned by our white family. Did Miss Wilson apply for this company? It would be such a waste of her talent. Why don't I replace the current chairman of the company with Miss Wilson?" Charlie was surprised when he found out that the white family owned Spikeworth Corps. It was fantastic news since Zeke was on their side, but he remembered that Claire had told him firmly that she wanted to prove herself with her abilities, so he said firmly, "No, you don't have to do that. Make some arrangements so that my wife can pass her interview." "Okay, Master Wade, I'll get on it right away." After Zeke ended the call, he asked his assistant to send an immediate notice to the senior management of Spikeworth Corps. He had to perform Master Wade's every request wonderfully. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Claire was getting ready to head to Spikeworth Corps for the interview, and Charlie kept her company. They had to go by cab since their car was at the workshop for its maintenance service, but it was the peak hour, and they couldn't get one even after waiting by the roadside for a long time. Claire started to get a little anxious and said desperately, "If I'm late and miss the interview, it will definitely give them a bad impression. I shouldn't have sent the car for maintenance." Charlie glanced helplessly at the queue ahead of them. There were at least 50 people before his turn. They had made a big mistake. At this crucial moment, a black Rolls-Royce slowly stopped in front of them. The window rolled down, and it was Zeke. He was surprised to see them and said, "Mr. Wade, are you waiting for a taxi?" Charlie was equally surprised. It was such a coincidence for Zeke to appear at this desperate moment. Hence, he uttered, "Yes, I want to take my wife to Spikeworth Corps for an interview. Why are you here?"